Good morning, good afternoon, guys, or whatever time it may be when you're watching this video. I also want to welcome, we have about, I don't know, maybe like 12 new scholars that were added to the communications class last week. So welcome, guys. If you need to do communication applications, or like what I like to call it as speech, this class is pretty much going to teach you how to be a better public speaker. We're going to talk about the do's, the don'ts. We're going to talk about the actual process and the actual concept of communication while preparing you to give a major presentation and also preparing you for a career in communication studies. Okay. So welcome. So make sure that you're watching this video. If you are watching this video before you complete the assignments, that's perfect. But if you're not, if you decide to watch this video after, then I highly recommend you to stop working and go back to the video and pay attention to the video. Okay. The assignments for today are going to rely completely on today's concept, so make sure that you're paying attention. Okay. So we're going to continue on our topic of nonverbal communications. We went through the basic process of communications. We talked about the principles, what makes communication so unique. Now, so why are we learning about nonverbal communication, mystery? We're trying to become good public speakers. Why should we know about nonverbal communication? Right? The answer is pretty simple. The reason that we have to teach about nonverbal communication is because over 50% of our communication, close to almost 90% of our communication, is done nonverbally. Okay? Although you do think that you speak throughout the day, which is true, only about between 7 to 10% of your personal communication is done verbally. The rest of it is done non-verbally. So majority of our communication is done non-verbally by the use of hand gestures, body movement, your tone, facial expressions, right? We convey different messages using our nonverbal communication skills. And we're going to continue to build off of nonverbal communication by getting very specific on what those skills are. Okay? There's various types of nonverbal communication. There's kinesics, there's paralanguage and paralinguistics, there's proxemics, there's haptics, oculesics, olfactics, right? There's kinemics and chromatics, there's silence, and there's sign language. Okay? Some of those you're like, Mr. E, what the heck does this mean? While others are pretty self-explanatory, like the word silence and sign language. Okay? So we're going to try to get through these throughout the entire unit, but odds are that we're not going to be able to cover most of them because some of these specific types of nonverbal communication are too complex to learn at a high school level, okay? So today we're going to cover kinesics, okay? Kinesics, think about it. Kinesics, you think of that word kinetic in science, right? Kinetic means movement, right? That energy that's expressed through movement. It's pretty much the same idea for kinesics, okay? So what are kinesics? What is kinesics? What are we talking about when we say the word kinesics? So kinesics in communication is the study of body movements, gestures, facial expressions, etc. as a means of communication. Okay? In other words, we're learning about, it's a study about everything except verbally, right? So kinesics is the study of body movements, gestures, facial expressions as a means of communication. That should be one of your questions attached to that Microsoft form that you should be completing. Okay, here's another definition which is practically the same thing. Kinesics is the study of posture movement, gestures, and facial expression. Okay. So I'm going to give you about 1 or 2 minutes to think about it. Think of what kinesics is in your daily life. How do you see kinesics in your daily life, right? Even though kinesics is a study, what specific things in your daily life do you do, right, that express or that deal with the study of body movement, right? Do you move your hand left and right? And if so, why? Do you point at people? If so, why, right? So take about 1 or 2 minutes to think of things that you do that relate to kinesics and what is the meaning behind those things that you do. So 1 or 2 minutes starting now. So you're thinking, guys, what specific body movements related to kinesics do you do, and what is your meaning? About 45 more seconds. Alright, guys, let's come back together. I'll give you about 10 seconds to come back together. So, of course, we cannot share because it's asynchronous. But if you think about it, there's a lot of things that we do that relate to kinesics, right? When you point at someone, there's meaning behind that, right? You're communicating a meaning of like, hey, I'm talking to you, right? When your teacher gives you a facial expression without saying anything because you're pissed off, that's the message of being pissed off, right? When your mom hits you with the chancla or something, they don't say anything, but they throw something at you, right? That's because you've been disrespectful. You got pissed off your mom, right? All these different things that you do with your hands, your body, your face, they're all part of the study of kinesics, right? So I want you to keep thinking of those things throughout class and throughout the day, because your homework assignment for tonight is going to rely on you creating a dictionary where you're going to create specific body movements and give me a definition and how to use those body movements, okay? Okay, so if you look at this picture, it's the same guy with thousands and thousands of facial expressions, right? The reason that I'm showing you this is to tell you that the face itself, the facial expressions that you make, can convey up to 250,000 expressions, okay? So your face is so unique that it has the capability of conveying 250,000 facial expressions, okay? So if those are the basics one, like mad, sad, happy, right? Overexcited, scared. There's also some that are in between, right? There's some that are in the mixture when you're having a bad day. You don't know if you want to be smiling. You don't know if you want to be frowning, right? So your face itself communicates thousands of messages without you even knowing, right? Without you even knowing you make that face, right? So like we said, kinesics is a study of body movement and hand gestures. So let's talk about body language, right? The language, the messages that are being conveyed through your own personal body, okay? So body language includes your facial expressions, your gestures, and your posture and stance, okay? In other words, body language covers anything that has to do with body. The way that you smile, the way that your face looks when you're saying a specific message, the way that you move your hands, right? Are you using your hands to express a message? Are you keeping your hands to yourself? The way that you stand, are you standing straight up? Are you looking down? Are you like hunchback? Whatever it may be, every single aspect of your body is conveying a message, and it deals with body language. Okay? To interpret a facial expression correctly, it is important to take the communication context and culture into account. What I'm trying to say is that in order for you to convey a good message, right? When you're trying, and I'm going to use this example, right? But the peace sign with your two fingers. I know it means nothing mean, right? It's like your little pose when you take a picture, but you have to stop and think of the consequences behind that message, even if it's a simple peace sign with your two fingers. Okay? But why mystery? It just means peace. That's true. It means peace to you. But if you stop and think about it, that peace sign can be something completely different for another culture or another group of people. Okay? So the reason sometimes we tell you, fix your face, don't do that, don't do this, don't stand up like that, is because certain cultures and certain people are affected tremendously by the message that's being conveyed through your body language. Okay? So when you're trying to use your body to create some sort of language or create some sort of message, you need to be knowledgeable of the fact that that specific message has to be relevant and in the same channel as someone with a different culture or in a different context. Okay? The third bullet point says, or it's an example, people in some cultures rarely show emotion. For example, China, right? The Asian community will smile or laugh softly when they are embarrassed. Okay? When you smile or laugh softly in the Western culture, which is this part of the world, it's seen as something like joyful. But because of the fact that they rarely show emotion, that's one of their culture characteristics. The fact that they rarely show emotion, those little smiles and laugh softer, are nothing that has to deal with joy, right? It has to deal with embarrassment. So body language deals with anything related to the body, and you have to be extremely knowledgeable of the way that you're going to convey a message, because you never know how that message is going to be perceived. Right? But there's ways that you can use your body effectively when you're giving a speech, when you're giving a presentation. There's ways that you can use your body effectively, and here are a couple tips. Number one, mind the body talk. This means be conscious of what your body is saying, right? If you don't think of your body, you just think of the words that are coming out of your mind, out of your mouth, then odds are that your body's expressing a completely different meaning or a completely different message than what your mouth is, right? If you think about it, right? If you think about it, back from the video from Monday and the same video from last Thursday, I said that one of the characteristics of nonverbal communication is that it either complements your oral language, right, or it contradicts your oral language, right? If you're not minding your body language, if you're not paying attention on what your hands are doing, what your tone of your voice is doing, right, what your stand and posture are doing, then that is a prime example of your body language contradicting the oral language that's coming out of your mouth, right? Be conscious of your body. Another thing is to be careful with handshakes. This seems kind of silly, right? But when you're shaking someone's hand, you don't want to have a weak wrist, right? You don't want to have a weak handshake. A handshake where you're not grabbing or grasping the other person's hand, right? Handshakes are critical during first impressions, right? They're critical. When you go to an interview, you always shake someone's hand. Of course, it's different because of COVID right now. But handshakes were literally the door to your first impressions. So if you have your handshake too strong, if you have your handshake too weak, that shows unconscious mind and body talk. That shows the fact that you're not thinking of your body language and the talk that's coming out of your body. Okay? I've told you this. I told you this, guys, and you've seen it from me. You have to also establish good eye contact. Okay? Look at the person that you're speaking. Look at them straight in the eye. If you look at them straight in the eye, then you know that they're paying attention, and you also know that you're making that connection to establish a more meaningful message. Okay? Communicate at the level of the person before you. That means that we talked about technical language in oral communication, but that means don't be using complex words when you're speaking to a 2-year-old, right? When we made that phonation process poster, you weren't going to create a poster using complex language that the kids didn't know, right? Why? Because you're talking to a second grader. So communicate at the level of the person before you is pretty much being conscious of the language that you're using, the vocabulary, right? And the specific tone that you're using those specific words. Okay? One of the most important body language uses is to gracefully move in confident posture, right? Gracefully move means don't be so robotic. Don't be moving like a robot. Don't stand there and not move, right? Be relaxed. Be confident, right? Take up the space that you're speaking on. Make that space yours. Okay, that's one of the biggest advice that I can give you when we're talking about body language, right? I want you to be confident on your space, be confident on your stand, be confident on your posture. Your body itself expresses a completely different meaning than what you're saying. So if your body doesn't seem confident, then odds are that your speech is going to be crap, right? So use your body, use your posture to express this feeling of confidence. Now we categorize kinesics into 5 different kinds. Kind number 1 is affect displays, right? Affect displays is the movements of the face to convey or show emotions. So affect displays deals with how your face moves to create the emotion of sadness, right? Does your nose wrinkle? Does your frown turn down? Does your frown turn straight, right? How do we convey the message of happiness, fear, anger? So affect displays deals with the movements of your face to convey an emotion, right? Number 2 is emblems, right? So kinesics emblems or substitutes specific words for that nonverbal communication, right? When we point, we know that means, hey, we're talking to you. That's a substitution of words. When we say, okay, we do a thumbs up, right? That's a substitution of words. When we put our finger against our lips, that says, shh, be quiet, right? That's a substitution of words. So kinesics connects emblems in which those specific emblems are just substitutions of the words that you would have been using. Right? The third characteristic is that they're illustrators, right? They accompany and literally illustrate the verbal language or the verbal message, right? If you're pissed off at someone and you're saying your message with a smile, that's not an accompanying of the message that you're trying to say. But when you're pissed off, your face is going to show that pissed off emotion, right? Or my 10th grader saw it yesterday, right? So if you're pissed off, you're going to illustrate that pissed off or that angry emotion, and it's going to pretty much accompany the message. So if your mom's screaming at you and they have this frown or this angry look on their face, it pictures yourself, right? You look at that picture of your mom being angry and you're like, okay, my mom is really pissed off, right? So kinesics plays as an illustrator where they accompany, right? They help you visualize the specific emotion or the specific message that is being said. Okay. Here's a picture of ex-President Bush, ex-President Bush. Yeah, a former President George W. Bush, right? He's looking at his watch. And then he asks, what time is it? It's illustrating, hey, what time is it by looking at his watch, while at the same time saying what time is it, right? That's an accompany of verbal and nonverbal communication. Right? The four characteristics is that kinesics work as regulators, right? They monitor, they maintain and control the speaking of another individual. For example, if you look confused, the speaker that's going to speak is going to be like, hey, are you okay? Do you need me to clarify, right? You're regulating it. You're making sure that that specific nonverbal communication and verbal message are being understood, right? You stop and make checks for understanding, right? You look at what you're speaking about and be like, okay, that person seems distraught, so I'm going to start talking about this, right? You talk about someone being, if you see someone sad because you're talking about something very delicate or fragile, right? A topic that's very, very intimate, then you're going to regulate your conversation to get rid of that, right? We don't want to make anyone sad. We don't want to make anyone angry. We want to interest people. We want to make them excited, right? When you're speaking to someone and they laugh, then you know that you said the good joke. When you're speaking to someone and they nod their head, you know that they're catching everything you're saying. When you're speaking to someone and they put their heads down, you know that they're very uncomfortable with the topic, so you're regulating your conversations, right? And the last characteristic of kinesics is that they're adapters, right? They satisfy a need and are usually unconscious. Okay. They satisfy a need and are usually unconscious. Okay. What I mean by this is that your verbal language, not verbal language, but your body language, your hand gestures, your facial expressions are going to satisfy that need that needs to be added to your verbal communication, right? Okay, so first of all, they're unconscious, which means that you have no control over them. You don't even know that you're doing them, right? But your body and your face do play 90% of most communication. So, in other words, if you're satisfying the need, that means that you're conveying the true message based on your nonverbal communication, right? So you're adapting to the environment, right? You're adapting to your environment by conveying the true meaning that you actually mean, right? Through your nonverbal communication, right? You're satisfying your needs, right? You're being unconsciously satisfying your needs. You're adapting to the conversation. You're adapting to the environment. So there's three types of adapters, right? Self-adapters, you just satisfy a physical need, right? think about it. You're scratching yourself. That means you're itchy. You're expressing the message of being itchy by without saying anything. You go eat. That means you're hungry. You're expressing the need of hunger, but you don't say anything. You just eat, right? So self-adapters is you satisfying a need through physical activity. Alter adapters are body movements you make in response to your current interactions, right? So if you're going to talk or you interact with someone that makes you uncomfortable and you step away, right? That's an alter adapter. If you cross your arms when someone that you don't like approaches you, that's an alter adapter, right? So self-adapters rely on your physical needs, while alter adapters deal, right? Or are talking about your body movements in response to someone's interaction. So if I'm mad at Ruben and Ruben makes me angry because I hate him and he's trying to come near me and I step away, that's an alter adapter. And the last type of adapter is object adapters, right? It's a manipulation of objects often happen when feeling hostile, right? That's when you are using something else to convey a message, right? They give you the example of clicking a pen. When you're nervous, we're clicking pens, right? To get rid of that anxiousness, right? When you are taking a test, you're playing with the pencil left and right. You bite your pencil, you play with your eraser, right? That's an expression of nervousness, right? Those are object adapters. You're using other objects to express a specific meaning, right? So self-adapters deal with how you physically meet your needs. Alter adapters, it deals with how you physically convey your interaction with another person. And object adapters is how you physically use other objects to express an environment. Okay. So that is the last part of Kinesics. This is about a 20-something minute long PowerPoint. Of course, I am going to attach the PowerPoint to the daily post if you want to see it. Kinesics are super simple to understand, right? They deal with body movement. They are literally the study of body movement. Okay? We talked about affect displays. We talked about the use of your body language, okay? We talked about the 250,000 facial expressions that come based on kinesics, right? So your goal as a homework assignment, and I'm going to go ahead and move all the way down for this. And yes, we're covering all of this throughout the week. But your job for your homework assignment is to create a dictionary, right? I want you to create a dictionary in which you're going to whether take picture, right, or draw it out. I don't care what you're going to do, but you're going to create a dictionary of at least 5 facial expressions or body movements and their definitions, right? So here's an example, right? I don't know what that means, right? Can you guess what that means? And it says right there, right? It's an obscene gesture, not such a gesture in English. In Brazil means good luck, right? We know what this means. It means stop, right? We know what this means. It means thumbs up or good job, right? We know that specific handshakes mean different things. So your goal for this homework assignment is to create 5 facial expressions or 5 hand gestures or 5 body movements, right? Something that deals with kinesics and create a 5 category dictionary. Okay? So what you're going to do is you can either draw your facial expressions or you can take a picture of them and send them to me. But what you're going to do is create those 5 expressions, right? You're going to give me a definition of what those expressions mean, and you're going to use them in a specific scenario, right? So if for me, I want to create the facial expression of a mixture of disgust and anger, then I'm going to draw that face of disgust and anger or take a picture of myself showing disgust or slash anger and give me the definition of what that expression is. If I want to call it hanger, right? Then I'll be like, this is called hanger, and it means a mixture of angry and disgusted, right? And then I'm going to give a specific scenario. I will use this facial expression in an environment where it pisses me off that they're still giving me broccoli for lunch. Okay? So you're going to have until Friday to submit your 5 suggestions, right? I'm going to create an assignment tab, so all you have to do is submit them through there. So again, you're creating 5 facial expressions or 5 hand gestures or 5 body language expressions that have some sort of definition, right? You can either, actually, you can use 2 already created. So you can do a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a hook 'em horns, whatever, maybe 2 that already exist, and give me their meaning in a scenario, and create 3 of your own. So 3 should be completely original that we have never seen. Okay? So you're creating a nonverbal communication dictionary by giving me 5 facial expressions slash body gestures slash hand gestures, right? Their definition is in a specific scenario. Okay? You will submit this through Teams. You can either draw the facial expressions or your concepts, or take a picture of them. You're doing them, right? When you're taking these pictures, when you're compiling these pictures, don't send me 1 picture, 2 pictures, just 5 separate emails or 5 separate submissions, right? Just put everything in a Word document, put everything in a PowerPoint, and send it to me. It's easier for both of us, and it's easier to keep your work together. Okay? If you have any questions, you can feel free to message me on Teams. You can shoot me a message. But I did want to touch on something. I do not respond to a student's message after 5 o'clock. I mean, not 5 o'clock, after 4:30. Right? After 4:30, unless I message you, I'm not going to respond to your messages. I need you to respect my personal time after work, just like I respect yours whenever I give you that time to work. Okay? So once again, the homework is you creating a dictionary where you're giving me, or you're creating, right? You're inventing 5 facial expressions, 5 hand gestures, and or 5 body movements with a meaning in a scenario. Okay, this is due by Friday. Okay, make sure that you complete the Microsoft form inside of the daily post that deals with this PowerPoint presentation, as well as complete your homework. 9th graders, don't forget that the last day to submit any assignments is Monday. So after Monday, I am not accepting any late assignments for 9th grade. 10th grade, for my class, your last day to submit any late assignment is on Friday. After Friday, quarter 1 will close for you guys, and for 9th graders on Monday, and I will not be adding any grades after that. You'll just keep your 50s. So 9th graders, yours is on Monday. 10th graders, yours is on Friday. Okay? Have a great rest of your week, guys. I'll see you back on Friday. I love you. I can't wait to see you in person completely. But if I already see you in person, I know you miss me too. Okay? Bye, guys. Have a great day.